You're talking about dusty language, and what fascinates me is how alive and how amazing his use of language and so unexpected it is. And just as an introduction, you're talking about how you came to the book. I came to the book a long time ago. I bought it when I didn't know, I didn't remember exactly when I was 14. And I did something that's very unlike me. But for some reason, I decided that I wouldn't read it then, that I needed to be older. So I would leave it as a treat for me, for I wasn't, 14 anymore, which I'm not 14 anymore. So I just started reading it recently, and then I saw there was this, and then I got your translation, which was great because I was doing all the work. I said, oh, there are lots of stuff here in the notes which are fantastic. But also reading it such a long time ago, first of all, I was a little bit feeling ashamed that I had to look up so many words. So I said, well, I should have. But it was incredible as well because I got more and more in love with it. And just certain things come to my mind. So there was, three words really. Le, hele, tres le. That's incredible. I was just, that's a delight. This wonderful. And when he says about their first time they're eating together in that little place, era comer virgulado de palavras doces, etc., etc. Virgular. So we have a word, and we have a verb for inserting commas. And I think virgulado there, it just is kind of as virgulado, you have four syllables, you have time, as if, as they had time to enjoy and go on and go on and all that. So there's this, the way he works with the language itself, it's incredible. Forget the wheat, forget everything else. And it's just because I mentioned commas and all that, of course, the use that he does, the way he uses punctuation, etc., which is sort of, there was something like that at the time, and it comes after as well. But not only, the sex scene, let's call it like that, which is amazing, but talking about not only the way that it appears visually and as sort of images and all that, but also when he's mentioning, I think more to the end, that he's having all these questions in his head, so these interrogations, and that they are, it's like for his brain, it's como os pontinhos e vírgulas escuras que percorrem o campo visual. So, it is not only, on the page, but it's sort of how the language in the brain as well is sometimes is seen as something that is interfering and all that. And so not dusty at all.
Yeah, no, you can really tell that Machado is a worked as a typographer. The punctuation is, and one of the things that I was actually very very careful about punctuation because you can feel how deliberate it is, and especially there's a wonderful edition that was put together by the ABL, I think for the 50th anniversary of his death, which compiles every single change that he made to Brás Cubas in the editions that were produced while he was alive. And one of the things that I included in my edition was things that he cut, which translations of passages that hadn't been available to English language readers as well. But you can, when you get down to, and when I was reading Gregory Rabas's translation, for example, the impact of turning a semicolon into a period, it just once you do that, you can it that actually helped me see just how important the structure was that he'd set up there. There are long sort of unfurling sentences that are almost structured like movie scripts, where it's hard to explain, but he's uh there's an exact measure of each pause and of each action. He'll string together a series of actions and have one very short sentence, and it's so meticulous. He's paying so much attention to that. One of the things that I perhaps Penguin was most reluctant to do, but wound up acquiescing to at the expense of making the book a little more expensive, was the blank space. You know, not every edition, especially most editions in Brazil nowadays don't do they don't establish a new page for each chapter. And it's so clear that that's what he meant. I mean, he couldn't make it any clearer. Not only do all of the editions in his lifetime have that spacing, leaving that blank space on the page, making you turn the page to access the next chapter. But he's constantly, you know, he puts an epitaph in, you know, in the case of Nyalala, you know, I'd put in this reflection here so you wouldn't be turning straight to an epitaph. And Penguin was a little reluctant to make the book, you know, it winds up inflating it quite a bit because you have 160 very short chapters. I don't know how many pages of padding that actually wound up inserting, but it's a book that conceives of itself so profoundly as a physical book that all of the typesetting and the physical aspects are you know just as important as his choice of an adjective or his characterization of Vigilia in chapter so and so. So I would say that the comparative reading exercise really made the punctuation shine. And then, you know, it's not only the actual punctuation, it's the you know, then there's the playful chapter of the dialogue of Adam and Eve, which actually I think that was the one battle I lost because it should be on two opposite facing pages. And just because of the way that it was laid out, you have to turn the page to get the other half of the dialogue. I begged and pleaded, but I wasn't able to get around it. I have, and I don't know if it's the third or fourth edition where you can just see how he meant for it to work. But yeah, it's there are commas and semicolons and periods floating everywhere around the book in all sorts of forms for those discerning enough. And I'm so glad that you're having this reencounter, this belated reencounter with Machado and with Brás Cubas. That was very thoughtful of your 14-year-old self, but I wish that more 14-year-olds has the sense that they didn't have to be older in order to read Brás Cubas as well.